The transformations have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. May 13th, 2025. Let's get into it. You know, I'm beginning to think I wanted to play that clip up front of Trump. That was a very motivational speech. And I just wanted to bring a couple of things across. I don't know if they were in that speech or not, but things that I've learned. Seems that we're going to be forgiving sanctions on Syria, although I don't know why we couldn't have done that when Assad was there. And I was just listening to the radio, and they're still telling lies. They said that Assad used chemical weapons on his own people. He was an evil son of a bitch. Tulsi Gabbard's already brought out, no, he never used chemical weapons on his own people. And it was the sanctions that doomed his government. And I do want to point out that Marco Rubio is going to be meeting with the new so-called leader of Syria, who was a terrorist. In fact, we had I want to say it was a $10 million bounty on his head because he's chopped American heads off. But now we're going to recognize him as the head of the Syrian government and lift sanctions on Syria, which I'm all for lifting the sanctions. So I hope it helps the Syrian people out. I don't want to help the terrorists out, and I don't want to help the Syrian government out. I just want to help the Syrian people out. And I think the lifting of those sanctions will help them out. So, you know, all good things. But I did want to talk about that Trump speech for a minute. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on. I mean, I've never seen the news cycle change in the last week. I mean, it's been raining, so I've been cooped up in the house. And of course, today they aerated the lawn, and I had to wait for them to get that done before I could get out and get a hike. So I really haven't had much exercise for about 4 days. So I'm really glad to be out here in the forest, and that's why you haven't had a watching the world burn video. I did put up my last hiking video where the snake almost bit me. That scared the hell out of me. I I don't know if that thing had fangs or not. I imagine it would have hurt if he got in my leg. He only missed me by a few inches. Anyway, but yeah, so it looks like we're on the path to peace with Iran. I mean, I know Netanyahu and the Israelis, the Zionists in Israel, are hating life right now. So are the neocons in Washington, D.C. If Trump pulls that rabbit out of the hat. And then, geez, well, it looks like, well, I mean, we're definitely not on a path to peace with Russia. You know, there's a few things that I did want to point out to you that I don't think people really realize. You know, we're still providing Ukraine with weapons. We are still guiding or providing all of the technical data that allows Ukraine to target, you know, Russian soldiers and Russian targets, and even fire long-range missiles into Russia. So we are co-belligerent with Ukraine in that war. How in the world, as a co-belligerent, are you going to negotiate a peace plan? Now, Putin, to his credit, at 2 o'clock in the morning after celebrating Victory Day, man, I still want to do a video on Victory Day. I've got a bunch of historical stuff. If you're interested in that, leave me a comment. I think that most people don't really care about history. But I did want, you know, to point out that we were allies during World War II, you know, and the Russians, well, I tell you, McGregor threw out a number that I thought was insane. I thought it was about 27 million Russians that died in World War II. Now, we only lost, I want to say, around 200,000 to 300,000. Not a trivial number. But that McGregor said, because there's really no accounting, it was more like 45 million. Can you imagine him? So 1 in 5 Russians died during World War II. And ours was like 0.1%. And yet, we didn't even send an American representative to Victory Day with Russia. So, you want to call Trump the peace president, but that was a motivational speech that he gave in Qatar. And of course, there's the big controversy about the stupid plane. I mean, you know, who wouldn't take a free plane? That's what Trump said. Well, if they're going to give me a free plane, what the hell? Why not? You know, now I hope we have the technology to sweep that plane for bugs, because I'll bet there's more bugs on that. It'd be like, you know, when what was it? I think it was Israel that built our embassy. It was some country. And when we moved in, there were so many bugs built into the walls and everything. Of course, why would you pay another country to build your embassy? I mean, you know, I mean, that's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. But, you know, the federal government, there's some pretty stupid people, aren't they? But, so the same thing, I mean, you know, if they built this plane, I would imagine there's some listening devices on that plane. I don't know, just saying. But I'm like Trump. Why not take a free plane? What the hell? And then he said he'll put it in front of the Trump library when his presidency is done. And that'd be cool. I don't know. It doesn't bother me at all. Anyway, so, I mean, my God, but look at all the developments that are taking place. So, and then, of course, Trump says he's going to send in aid to the Palestinians. By the way, there was just on the news, Israel just blew up another hospital in Gaza. Said that they felt that there was a Hamas leader that was down in the basement. So they just blew the hell out of it. It killed everybody in the hospital, but maybe they got that Hamas person that was in the basement. I don't know. Seems kind of wasteful to me to kill all those people in the hospital just to get one guy, or maybe two. I don't know. But you know, the extermination of the Palestinians is still continuing apace. You know, we've starved them pretty good. I mean, I guess we're going on about 70 days, 80 days where they've had no food. Now, Trump has said that he's going to start going against Netanyahu and allowing or escorting some food and water into Gaza. I don't know what the point is. How many of them are left? You know, we've killed most of the Palestinians, right? I mean, at least it seems that way to me. You know, anybody that had any sort of medical conditions got to be dead. I imagine most of the kids, well, I imagine the parents have been giving the kids food and starving themselves, you know, so But so that there might be some kids that are still alive in there. You know, I know I'm exaggerating the numbers. There might be a million left alive for all I know. I just can't imagine living in those conditions. They got no housing, they got no water, they got no food. You know, no aid's been getting in there. How the hell are they surviving? But the whole world's okay with that. All the Christians in the United States, they love seeing the Palestinians die. Talk to Sean Hannity or Mark Levin. They're all for killing all the Palestinians. I don't really understand it. You know, I can't see in any war exterminating the entire populace, and we got the sun behind us, so we'll get the next clip here in just a minute. All right, so let's get into some other topics here. I guess the next one was, I don't know, if you haven't followed along, Trump is bringing in some white South Africans. And oh my God, the Democrats are going freaking crazy.
Killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, you know, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of, but it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me, but white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here. Yeah.
They're bringing white men, white women into the United States. Oh my God. We only imported 20 million illegal immigrants from around the world, but yet we're going to complain about a few hundred, maybe even just in the 50s, I don't even know, a few white immigrants from South Africa, because by the way, they're being massacred. I don't know if I had a video, there was a bunch of crosses. I mean, it's a slaughter. My God, what's taking place? And anyway, so and plus these are some pretty smart people. And I imagine they could help us with our farming. You know, I would like to see us get away from all of the GMO, Monsanto, you know, genetically engineered food and go back to some organic farming. And maybe they can help with that. Maybe that's an initiative Trump should look into. But that's the first thing I got to criticize Democrats about. You know, I love talking about Democrats. Oh my God. They're going to worry about a few South Africans coming into the country, but no, 20 million. And then, of course, when we want to deport some of those illegal immigrants, oh, they're going to fight us tooth and nail on that one. Oh, my God, the census. They need them for the census so they can pick up house seats. They need them for votes. Not even thinking about their own voters. Think of how much those illegal immigrants are drawing from the black people in the inner cities. Or even let's just say poor people in the cities, because they're funding those illegal immigrants way above anybody else in the city. You would think that the people in the cities would be going like, why are the illegal immigrants getting all the money? You know, I guess they're just too stupid to realize what's going on. Doesn't make sense to me. The other one that's wild, and we're going to kind of do a little bit of a dive into this one, was Trump. I don't know if you saw, he said that, and he's done it. I mean, if you look back through history, every Republican Obama and Biden and every Democrat has said that they're going to reduce the cost of prescription drugs. Well, Trump just signed an executive order saying that if Britain is paying a certain amount for a prescription drug, that we're going to pay the same amount. And that if that means that Britain has to raise their price, so be it. You know, the Democrats are against that. You want to vote Democrat? They can't stand you not getting cheap prescription drugs, man. Oh my God, talk to your neighbor. Say, hey, how much you paying for that Ozempic or your diabetes shot? How much you paying for that? Do you know it costs 1/10 of that in Great Britain? And Trump's trying to lower the price and every single Democrat's going to vote against it? Now also, Thune, the Senate Majority Leader of the RINOs are against it too. Now why do you think that is? Because they're all getting money from Big Pharma, man. I mean, Bernie Sanders has made more money off of freaking Big Pharma and Elizabeth Warren, you know, and I don't know. I thought Thune has made, I want to say just a couple million. So he's not quite in the pocket of Big Pharma as much as the Democrats are. And of course, Mike Johnson, he's come out against it. So every single politician of the Uniparty, okay, a lot of people, they say, well, you don't mention the RINOs enough in your videos. You just talk about Democrats. Well, yeah, they're all against it. They can't stand the thought of their pockets. But I did want to point out the side issue here. Do you see what Trump has been doing? It's quite a masterful plan. Okay, he's slowly cutting off the Uniparty. And of course, mainly the Democrats, because they were the biggest grifters. You know, the RINOs, of course, too, from their funding. You know, first, I mean, he was smart enough to go after USAID. And even one of my old neighbors who watches just CNN and maybe a little bit of Fox News, she knew about all the waste and stuff that Elon Musk and Doge found. And so I was surprised. I was like, oh man. And she was shocked that the Democrats were against us cutting off all of that government waste, you know. So so first went after USAID, and then of course the American Institute for Peace, and you know, so all of these funding organizations that give kickbacks to all the RINOs with the Uniparty. But now he went after prescription drugs. What do you think's going to happen to all of that money that Big Pharma? And I told you in the last video that Tom Massey, he said there is one or more prescription drug lobbyists for every congressman in Congress that lobbies them on a daily basis. So once Trump reduces the cost of those prescription drugs, I imagine that money's going to dry up to these corrupt Democrats. So he's hitting them. I mean, he's hitting them every way on the pocketbook, and that's where you had to go after him. Trump learned from his first administration. I give him a huge amount of credit. I don't think you've understood. He was going head on against them, trying to fight the deep state, the lawfare, because they did the Russia hoax. Then they impeached him for the phone call to Ukraine. You know, they went after him every way possible, and he just didn't understand what he was up against. Well, this time around, Trump said, let's just cut the money off. Because once you cut the money off, that's where you hurt him the most. And I'm loving every minute of it. I'm loving every minute of it. Loving every minute of it. So anyway, there was that story. And anyway, we're going to get into the China trade deal in depth. You know, a lot of people on X, they're saying, well, you know, it's not that good a trade deal and China didn't really bow down. You know, and I'll go ahead and cover it right now. But like I said, we're going to get into it with a stand-up reading here in a bit when I get to my destination. Is they agreed to start cutting down on the supply of fentanyl to the United States. So I got to give Trump credit. Not only is he cutting the fentanyl off coming across the southern border, but of course he's got Canada agreeing that they're going to try to cut the fentanyl coming across the northern border. And now he's got China saying they're going to cut out the fentanyl. This is huge. Think of how many American lives that could be in the hundreds of thousands. And that's another place where he's going to hurt the Democrat pocketbook. I mean, because it's the Democrat mafia. The Democrats make money because the drug cartels kick back money to the Democrats, okay? So when you hit the drug supply coming in the United States, okay, they're not going to be able to kick that money, to launder that money into the Democrat Party. Okay? So he's hitting them again in the pocketbook. A lot of people don't understand how the game is played. Now, whether Trump, I mean, I do think he's got a good heart and he really wants to save Americans. But if not, sometimes you do the right thing for the wrong reason, right? If he's just trying to hit the pocketbook of the Democrats, that's fine with me. I'd like to see some of these kids not get killed and live a long, happy life. Man, I got wasps all over the damn place. What the hell? Okay, let me move on here. Well, they didn't bother me. Sometimes if you don't bother them, they don't bother you. Got a pine cone here I'm going to kick off to the side. But anyway, so I did want to talk about that, and we got a couple of really good posts that we're going to get into in the reading here in just a minute. I'll probably get a couple of more talking points on the way to our destination. So I'm drawing a blank right now. Let's get the next clip here in just a bit. All right, let's get into the first story here first. This is the guy, Volt. The Trump administration demand that federal agencies plan to radically downsize is driven by a key figure in the conservative movement who has long planned this move. The president, Donald Trump's first term, Russell Vogt, V-O-U-G-H-T, was largely behind-the-scenes player who eventually became director of the influential but underappreciated Office of Management and Budget. He is back in that job in Trump's second term after being the principal author of Project 2025. Remember all the Democrats going on about Project 2025? One of my friends goes, "Oh God, please don't mention Project 2025. That'll trigger the Democrats." I love triggering Democrats. I'm sorry, man. I got to trigger them. The conservative governing blueprint that Trump insisted during the 24 campaign was not part of his agenda. The name Vote, co-signed Wednesday, is the clearest assertion of his power and the latest seminal writing for a man who argues that the federal bureaucracy is an existential threat to the country itself and that it should be dramatically downsized. An OMB spokesman did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Here's the context of the Wednesday memo from Volt's previous work. To Volt, the federal bureaucracy itself is a constitutional crisis. In Wednesday's memo, Volt framed the federal government as costly and inefficient and deeply in debt and declared that it is not producing results for the American public. Instead, tax dollars are being siphoned off to fund unproductive and unnecessary programs. He used similar language in passages of the Project 2025 in a 104-page budget plan proposed by his think tank, the Center for Renewing America, in 2022. The overall situation is constitutionally dire, unsustainably expensive, and in urgent need of repair. Nothing less than the survival of self-governance in America is at stake, he wrote in Project 2025. That tracks with what Vogt said before Trump again nominated him to the role in November. The post-election appearance with conservative commentator Tucker Carlson, Vogt was even more explicit. The left has innovated over 100 years to create this administrative state that is totally unaccountable to the president. And then, of course, it goes on from there. But I'm going to tell you, this guy is going to be a great leader for for Doge. I think that's where he's going. This is just an article that I found on him. And then it says, I'll just read this one to you. This is kind of going down because the rest of this was on Project 2025. Volt has praised Doge and pushed back at Trump's critics. Asked after the election about the president's proposal to empower billionaire Elon Musk at the time, former presidential GOP candidate and Vivek Ramaswamy, I wonder whatever happened to Vivek. I thought he would have been a good addition to Doge. I know there was some sort of falling out, but I can't remember. With sweeping power of the federal government, Vogt was on board. I think they're bringing an exhilarating rush of creativity outside the box, thinking and comfortably with risk and leverage, he told Carlson. And boy, it's a long, long article. I don't want to read you the whole thing because I put you to sleep, but it sounds like I just wanted to kind of give you a feel for who this guy is. And I think that's going to be a good addition to Trump's staff there. All right, so this gets into the China thing, and I'm not going to put the text up on the beginning here, but I will tell you this. Major breakthrough in U.S.-China trade negotiations. The U.S. trade standoff ended with a historic 90-day agreement. Chinese officials made 3 major concessions the media isn't reporting. You won't believe what you're about to hear. Okay, so like I said, I didn't put the text up on that. It takes a long time, cut, paste, you know, and all that stuff. But when we get into the meat of this, I'll start putting stuff up. After weeks of escalating tariffs that reached a staggering 125% on both sides, U.S. and China negotiations in Geneva met this weekend in Geneva. The result, a breakthrough 90-day agreement. But there's more to this story than what's being reported, and we have a video.
First of all, we want to express our great thanks to the Swiss government for facilitating this trade meeting here in Geneva. We had very productive talks, and I believe that the venue here on Lake Geneva added great equanimity to what was a very positive process. We have reached an agreement on a 90-day pause and substantially moved down the tariff levels. Both sides on the reciprocal tariffs will move their tariffs down 115%.
Okay, so the video speaks for itself. Let's rewind to understand why this matters. On April 2nd, Trump imposed reciprocal tariffs under his America First policy. China was assigned a 34% rate. Unlike other countries, China chose to fight back. Let's watch that video.
On January 20th, when the president was inaugurated, he released the America First trade policy, which was comprehensive and flagged that and actually directed agencies, including the U.S. Trade Representative and others, to research this issue and to provide options, which we did, and the president elected to impose reciprocal tariffs on April 2 to address this national emergency of the trade deficit. There was a global baseline tariff accompanied by higher reciprocal tariffs for each country depending on the level and intensity of their trade surplus with the United States. In all of this, China was assigned a reciprocal tariff rate of 34%. China was the only country that chose to implement retaliation against the United States for this reciprocal tariff. All other countries, withheld and decided that they wanted to negotiate with the United States or simply not retaliate. And so we've been in detailed discussions with other countries for several weeks at this point. China, as you know, retaliated not only with tariffs, but with disproportionate and asymmetrical non-tariff measures.
Okay. That's when things escalated dramatically. China didn't just add tariffs. They imposed severe non-tariff measures that effectively created a trade embargo, according to U.S. officials, the economic equivalent of a declaration of war. Watch that video.
The president increased our tariff rates to offset Chinese retaliation. And as you know, this escalated to a point where both sides had added 125% tariffs, and with the Chinese side, additional non-tariff measures amounting to an embargo in some senses on trade, in effect of an embargo, which of course was not a sustainable practice for either side.
All right. Both sides kept raising tariffs until they hit a crippling 125%, creating an unsustainable situation that threatened global trade. That's when something unexpected happened. China blinked. Concession number 1. China agreed to reduce tariffs by 115%, bring them down to just 10%. This matches the exact reduction the U.S. offered, creating a parity for the first time in this trade battle. But that's just the beginning. Let's watch that video. Okay.
And so today, with this agreement, we come to agreement that our reciprocal tariff rate will go down to 10% on the United States side, so it goes down 115%. We enter into a 90-day pause period for negotiations, which both the Chinese and the United States are very committed to, and the Chinese on their side also go down 115% to 10%, and they remove the countermeasures that they have in place. To be very clear, other measures that the United States has put in place in the past, whether it's tariff measures from 2018 or since, tariffs under other statutory authorities, tariffs related to fentanyl, those remain unchanged for now to the side.
Concession number 2. China removed all countermeasures. Beyond tariffs, China had imposed severe non-tariff barriers. Officials said these effectively created a trade embargo against U.S. goods. They've now agreed to remove all these barriers. Concession number 3, and this is what I was talking about, I think. It's perhaps the most surprising. China sent their deputy minister for public safety to address the fentanyl crisis. U.S. officials called this an upside surprise, completely unexpected at the trade meeting. Let's watch that video.
For me, from this weekend was the level of Chinese engagement on the fentanyl crisis in the United States. They brought the Deputy Minister for Public Safety, who is not traditionally part of the trade team or the negotiating team, and he had a very robust and highly detailed discussion with someone from the U.S. National Security Team.
Okay. This isn't about lower prices on Chinese goods. It's about a fundamental shift in the U.S.-China relationship. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent revealed they're managing a trade queue with 75-plus countries bringing their best offers after seeing China's concessions. The bigger story, this isn't a one-off deal. U.S. officials established a mechanism for ongoing negotiations, something they claimed that was neglected before. Communication channels had atrophied until now. What happens in the next 90 days is critical. Negotiations will focus on rebalancing trade and addressing the $1.2 trillion deficit in goods. The deficit grew 42% in recent years, but now it's being tackled head-on. Behind the scenes, a strategic vision is unfolding. The U.S. aims to rebuild key manufacturing in medicine, semiconductors, and steel. Yet both sides agreed neither side wants a decoupling. They want rebalancing, not separation. Both countries need a reset. One official explained, China is unbalanced in terms of overproduction in manufacturing. The U.S. lost precision manufacturing. Together, they could find a new equilibrium. America's goals are clear. Restore critical manufacturing, maintain healthy trade flows, command respect in negotiations, create a model for future deals. The agreement sets the blueprint. The ultimate test will come during these next 90 days. Will China follow through? Will concrete purchase agreements materialize to reduce the trade deficit? And then he says, let me know what he thinks, and you can.
A strategic rebalancing in many areas that were exposed as supply chain weaknesses during COVID, whether it's medicines, whether it's semiconductors, steel, we've identified 5 or 6 strategic industries and supply chain vulnerabilities, and we will continue moving toward U.S. independence or reliable supplies from allies on those. But the consensus from both delegations this weekend is neither side wants a decoupling. And what had occurred with these very high tariffs, as Ambassador Greer said, was the equivalent of an embargo, and neither side wants that. We do want trade. We want more balanced trade, and I think that both sides are committed to achieving that. We would like to see China open to more U.S. goods. We expect that as the negotiations proceed, that there will also be the possibility of purchase agreements to pull what is our largest bilateral trade deficit into balance that has gotten out of balance. And much of this has happened through neglect over the past 4 years, as the previous administration did not engage on this issue. That was put forward to us by the Chinese, in fact.
Go back and read it. This was Data Republican. Now, if you don't know, she's the woman that's trading. She's tracking all the money for the NGOs for Trump. And she's doing a hell of a job. This woman is just she's a genius. I mean, she reminds me of, God dang it, I can't remember the, Whitney. Gosh dang it, I'm sure I'll get it on the way back. Naming the people in the NGOs behind the Biden's Soul of the Nation speech. By the way, if you don't remember that speech that Biden gave with the red behind him, looked like something like Darth Vader up there on the stage. You know, I don't know who put the setting for that. And he told half the country that we all needed to be in jail because we were MAGA Republicans. And I'll just read this to you. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. That was part of the speech. This was a quote from the extraordinary speech given by a sitting United States president. It took place on September 1st, 2022, over a year after the events of January 6th, and less than 3 years ago. In it, he also goes on to declare, democracy, remember that shaking? Democracy cannot survive when one side believes there are only two outcomes to an election. Either they win or they were cheated. And that's where MAGA Republicans are today. Boy, I tell you, Biden was fired up during that. Man, they pumped him full of adrenaline, didn't they? In other words, he declared that the nation cannot survive the threat of 74 million Americans sharing their opinion. Make no mistake, the people who are behind this speech haven't gone anywhere. The moment they have a friendly White House again, this kind of divisive authoritarian rhetoric will be back in full force. I will be naming them and the NGOs behind them, putting together the tweets in my live line, patience please. So she's going after them. I wish her luck. I do wish her luck. I hope she can get them. Now, these are the numbers on Yemen, and I just wanted to read these to you real quick, because this is the reason we pulled out. And I've got a picture where we'll put it up either during the reading here or in the beginning or at the end. Estimated cost of U.S. airstrikes on Yemen for the past 45 days, $1 billion. Now, this was, I don't have the date on this post, but this is kind of like a week or two old. Material losses, 8 times MQ-9, and 1 times FA minus 18 equals 326 million. I don't know what that means, that equation, whatever that means. It costs around $8 million per day to operate an aircraft carrier. U.S. Truman, 45 days, and U.S. Vinson, 18 days, that's $520 million. B-2 Spirit cost per hour, $135,000. Diego Garcia to Yemen to Diego Garcia is 8 hours at least, so $1 million per day. Considering not all 6 of them were flying every day, we could estimate roughly around $100 million in 30 days, including bombs and missiles. Result, the Yemenis have not shown any sign of weakening so far. They launch drones and missiles on a regular basis. So there you go. That was, what's the date on this? I can't get the date, sorry. All right, let's get the next one, and this will be it. Well, yeah, you know, they got the hostage released, Eden Alexander, but what was interesting about that story was Trump negotiated directly with Hamas, and just cut Israel right out of because Netanyahu didn't give a shit about the hostages. And so Trump, in order to get the last American out, he had to negotiate directly with Hamas. And okay, this is a big one. Yeah, this is pretty cool. And everybody's been complaining on X about Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino, and what the hell are they doing? So breaking. AG, Attorney General Pam Bondi opens a RICO investigation into the Clinton-Obama Foundation network. She's also referred Letitia James to a grand jury in New York. So don't tell me progress isn't getting made. Now, maybe it's not happening as fast as you want. And we're going to get one more post here. And this we're going to finish off with this video because this is very important to me. The last post before they took Parler down back in 2000, by the way, I had a huge following on Parler before they took it down. I was rebuilding my business. That really devastated me because I had worked really hard to build a following on Parler. But anyway, emotional crowd roars for justice for Ashley Babbitt. And my last post on Parler, I said that Ashley Babbitt would never get justice. Well, looks like she's going to get justice. So this is Judicial Watch. Let's watch this right now. Peace out. Stay free.
I got very upset again recently about January 6th. I was rewatching the video of the needless killing of Ashley Babbitt, the Air Force veteran, shot for no good reason by Lieutenant Michael Byrd of the U.S. Capitol Police. Now, I've watched those videos. I can't believe he just shot her dead like that. I just can't believe it. And few in this corrupt city give a rat's tail about that awful shooting. But millions of Americans care. her family cares. I think her mom, Mickey, is still here at CPAC. Is Mickey here? Well, give her a round of applause anyway. God bless her. And that's why I'm so pleased Judicial Watch just filed a $30 million wrongful death lawsuit against the U.S. government. On behalf of the family of Ashley Babbitt, as our lawsuit states, the facts speak truth. Ashley was ambushed when she was shot by Lieutenant Byrd. Multiple witnesses at the scene yelled, "You just murdered her." Judicial Watch is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. I tell you what, if it takes 30 more years to get justice for Ashley, that will be time well spent.
Oh, I got the sun behind me. I had another topic where Trump is hitting the Democrats hard. Like I said, pocketbook. That's going to be the title of this video. Trump defunds the Democrats. Anyway, I mean, I'm sure you're aware that he's proposed 3 tax cuts. No tax on Social Security, which is the way it should be. That was Bill Clinton, by the way, that put that tax in, if you didn't know, Democrat. And then no tax on tips, which would make sense. And I'm going to tell you that always places, a lot of people don't understand. I was a waiter for years. And, we always cheated on our taxes. I bet there's not a waiter or a service person out there that declares all of their income. And, I know a lot of it goes on the credit card, and that's why, I always try to pay in cash if I'm at a restaurant, but I rarely go these days because I'm on a poor man's budget. But anyway, so that'll eliminate a lot of fraud in the tax system and help a lot of people out. So that was a good thing. And I can't remember the third tax. I'll get it for you here in a bit. But see, that hurts the Democrats. If you didn't know, the Democrats always want to raise your taxes. And what do they do with that money? They launder it back to themselves, okay? So that's going to hurt the Democrats again, being able. And then, of course, what's going to really be great is if they ever get back in office, thank God forbid, they'll have to rescind that and reveal themselves to their voters that they're all about high taxes. Of course, you would think their voters would know that. I mean, just go to California. I think they got the highest taxes in the country. I wanted to say the third tax was income tax, but I don't think that's it. Because that would be a big one. I know he's talked about it, but I'm not sure that's the third tax that he's going to be getting rid of in the next bill. But anyway, so that defunds the RINOs. And the RINOs normally vote for tax cuts. So you got to give them credit. Like I said, the Democrats are the Borg. They vote against anything that would help the American people. The RINOs, you can occasionally get them to vote for something good. That's why I can't say the RINOs are all bad, although there are some RINOs that never vote for the American people. But anyway, the other two things that I wanted to talk about was, that Trump, the Democrats had that stupid, of course for my car it works. I got a Toyota Prius Prime, but they had the cars cutting off at stoplights, the new cars, to save on gas. Okay, but the problem is with the gasoline engine, if you don't have a hybrid with an electrical component to the car, that is really, really hard on the engine. In fact, I'm sure it shortens the lifespan of a gasoline engine. So Trump says that no more of that. No more having the car cut off at the stoplight. Plus, a lot of people just didn't like it. The other one was, I don't know about you. When I take a shower, I'm like Trump, man. I want to feel that water pressure. And so he's taking the governors out of all the faucets in the showers so that we can get a nice shower with some water pressure. And of course, you know, the Democrats they'll never tell you, but that caused all kinds of problems in California because they replaced all the toilets. So there wasn't enough water flushing through the sewer systems. So what they were having happen was the sewer systems were getting clogged because there just wasn't enough water to push the waste through the sewer system. So it ended up costing the taxpayers a shitload of money in California. That's just one example of the stupidity of Democrats. So I just wanted to hit those 3 things. If I get that third tax, if it is the income tax, I'll let you know. But I just wanted to get a scenery hike on the way back and talk about those things. But boy, Trump is really cutting the Democrats off from their money, isn't he? Even taking their tax money away. I'm loving every minute of it. Loving every minute of it.